We are here in the Flagship studio at the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference. I'm delighted to be joined by Ad Rawcliffe. Ad, thank you so much for being here. I know you recently joined Etiome, and we're glad to have you.
Absolute pleasure.
Great. Ad, let's start there. You are brand new to your role, but tell us a little bit about how you found your way to Etiome and what excites you about the company.
So yeah, 145 hours into the role. I was previously at a biotech called Etiome, where I'd been for about 10 years. I was CEO. We did engineered T-cell therapies for solid tumors, including we got approval for the first one of those ever for T-cellular for synovial sarcoma. Before that, I was at GSK for 17 years, and what I was doing there, I was mostly in the R&D organization, and I was mostly in these sort of really interesting roles that are interface between science and business. I ran business development for them. I was headed their venture capital fund for a while, and that's actually the exciting sweet spot. Is how do you take like world-class science and create the business environment for that to be successful, you know, financially, operationally, whatever. So when I look at Etiome and you look and you think, okay, I've got the opportunity to not just develop new therapies, but completely redefine how we conceive of the disease course, and then try to get to places where you could actually preempt the disease as we currently know it. The opportunity to, in the Flagship ecosystem, to put the business context around that, to help work out how to take that world-class science and actually create value for patients, for society, for investors. That to me is like that's an absolute great opportunity.
Fantastic. So you might be new to Flagship and Etiome, but you are certainly not new to this industry or translating that exciting science into something that could really reach patients down the line. Let's talk a little bit about where your vision is for this company as you're getting into the role.
Yeah. So I think the vision is to bring a lot of what we think about as precision medicine. So right patient, right drug, right time. Those are sort of the hallmarks of precision medicine. Well, that applies to things like cancer, but it really largely doesn't apply to large chronic diseases. But there's an absolute opportunity to do that. So redefine those diseases and bring the benefits of precision medicine to Alzheimer's disease, to cardiovascular disease, to liver disease. Now, and inherent in that is a recognition, which I think is pretty universal amongst the industry, that what we think of as the disease now really is only the very end stage of the disease. I mean, this is obvious. I've spent 10 years in cancer. It's obvious that when you're treating cancer patients, even patients who are diagnosed with very early stage cancer, that cancer is actually still
been there for a while,
quite advanced.
Yeah. And
that's true with Alzheimer's disease as well. It's fairly obviously true with Alzheimer's disease. By the time you have mild cognitive impairment or dementia, that's a pretty advanced. And the mechanisms that are at work in that late stage disease are fundamentally different to the mechanisms that gave rise to that condition. And they often began many years before in very different circumstances.
Right.
And what I think Etiome has the ability to do is restage those diseases, really understand what's going on in the early phases, and then be able to intervene to treat, yes, but ultimately to preempt what we now refer to as the disease and stop it from ever happening.
And coming from a cancer background, that must be incredibly exciting to think about. How could you either divert a train or stop it entirely from reaching what could be an advanced stage disease? Yeah,
I mean, the analogy I use is most of modern medicine is basically like treating a car crash with brakes, the steering wheel, or airbags, and wouldn't it be wonderful if rather than doing
to that place.
we just took the foot off the accelerator 12 miles beforehand, or
Right.
planned a different time to go on that trip, or
Yep.
or made sure that we were alert as a driver. So all these other things that are way upstream of that are currently invisible to us from a medicine perspective, and bringing a focus onto those things and then working out how to be able to intervene, that's what Etiome needs to do.
That sounds incredible. It must be technically challenging. So take us down a level in terms of how the Etiome platform actually does that.
Yeah. So yes, it is technically challenging. Otherwise, it would already have been done.
Right.
I think the beauty of the temporal biodynamics platform is that you can take well characterized representative patient populations, relatively small numbers, with deep multiomics data for each of the patients, and you can put that together, combine that with supervised AI, and understand the temporal path of the disease over many years, over the full spectrum, from healthy all the way through to very advanced disease. And by doing that, you can characterize the different biological pathways that are at operation at particular times. Now, that enables you to do sort of fundamental things like identify new targets. New targets, they may not be completely new, but they may be very, very new, or very much more relevant for particular patient populations. And you can also characterize those patient populations. So you can identify novel biomarkers, novel patient groups. And so you can really put together programs to either with new drug discovery and new drug development, or to look at drugs that are already out there and understand how they could be used dramatically better, maybe earlier, maybe in particular patient populations, and create value from existing programs in that way.
And are you thinking about all sorts of different modalities once you have these new targets, small molecules, biologics, anything else? Or is there one particular focus area that you think would be particularly appropriate for the new target discoveries that you're making?
So no, my view is that we can be therapeutic modality agnostic at this point in time, and pick the right therapeutic modality for the opportunity, and including, and inherent in this model is, because one company can't do this, inherent in this model is going to be partnering, I think, including across the Flagship ecosystem, but also partnering with other, with large pharmaceutical companies, and in order to make real the breadth of the platform, because the applicability of this platform, we're currently in liver disease, Alzheimer's, chronic kidney disease, but the applicability of this platform goes to a very broad range of chronic conditions.
So given all that you've described, what are some of your first priorities for 2026?
Yeah. So we will continue to make advances on the three programs that we've got. In liver disease, in Alzheimer's, and in chronic kidney. And I think you'll see us quite rapidly execute partnerships in those areas, and also identify specific programs that we want to move forward on, either ourselves or in partnership, to develop medicines to preempt and or treat differently those conditions. That's one. But I think beyond that, there's a range of other indications that you could expand the platform to. So within the spaces we are, going deeper, and then broadening out across a range of indications. Again, either ourselves, but actually a lot in partnership with other companies who have access to the tissue samples, and who have specific disease insight to help guide the development of those programs.
It sounds like program progress, also partnerships, all in the name of preempting disease before we get to a very late stage. I'm looking forward to seeing all that you'll do, Ad. Welcome to Flagship and welcome to the studio today.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here.